Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him I will trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near you, your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation.
This is Stacy Dash, and you're watching His Glory.
It's a war on truth while the police save our land. It's a war on truth, justice right around the bend. It's a war on truth and God wins in the end. We are war, no fear. We are war, God's hand. Justice was a setup.
Well, from east to west to north to south, hello, His Glory family, hello, America, and welcome back to The War on Truth Continues. We have an awesome guest today, Kate Monroe. She's a U.S. Marine Corps vet and author of The Race to Save America. So this is going to be a pretty cool interview. Before we bring Miss Monroe in, let's just run through our announcements for this morning, shall we? The Kingdom Candy Sampler. Order our new Kingdom Candy Nutrition Bar Sampler with 15 grams of protein, 8 grams of fiber, and essential minerals. Our 3-bar sampler is a great way to try both the peanut butter chocolate chip and salted caramel flavors for only $17.76. The entire Kingdom line can help you stay healthy and store up for emergencies. And this is available at hisglory.me shop. Freedom 2.0. Freedom 2.0 is not just water, it's a movement fighting to protect this country's unapologetic right to freedom. Through freedom fighters like you, Freedom 2.0 will make the silent majority seen. Discover more about this movement at our partner page at hisglory.me partners. Prayer request. Please submit your prayer request to hisglory.me. Ask for prayer. Folks, we get back to you, and we love it when we hear from you for how the prayer has affected your life. So if you need healing, if prayers of thanks, anything at all, please reach out to our prayer team. And finally, Rebuilding and Restoring America, our October 5th event. Join us at the His Glory Ranch on October 5th for the Rebuilding and Restoring America Family Fun Music Fest. We're also going to have a petting zoo. For tickets and more information, visit hisglory.me events. And if you'll see you there, this is going to be a great day. If you've never been to East Texas before, this is a great reason for you all to come down. That is the announcements. Now let's get to Miss Monroe. Kate, how the Sam heck are you today?
I'm excellent. So glad to be on with you this morning. I love doing stuff like this.
Well, you've been pretty busy. So you started out as a Marine. What was your MOS? How long were you in the Corps? Start there and catch us up with what you've been doing since then.
I was a 26-21, so I was an intelligence analyst. I really wanted to be a linguist, but wouldn't you know it, on the last week of boot camp, they told me that was full. So I had a choice to make. And I'll tell you, it's been a really big boon to my career, even though I had a lot of Very unfortunate things, we'll put it that way, happened to me when I was in service. I would never go back and not do it again, because to be able to say that you served in the Marine Corps, that you are a Marine, really sets you apart. And since then, I've had a lot of sales in my background. I've written 7 books. I've been on, national news about 350 times. I've run for Congress. But right now, I'm the CEO of vetcom.us. We get veterans paid very quickly by the VA what they are owed, and we do it in a very hassle-free way. We've already done almost $1 billion in lifetime income this year, which we're very proud of.
Wow, that's something. My foster son, I saw what he and his buddies went through trying to get their benefits, and my little Chris was very tenacious, and it turned out well. But a lot of his buddies, they just gave up. They were just so overwhelmed by the system, and they just quit trying. Um, right now, the way our country is going, with all the folks we brought in, the millions of people we brought in, we're hearing that they're getting benefits. They're getting food stamps, benefits, $2,100 a month, free housing. While we've still got about 40,000 veterans homeless. What's going on in the country right now?
Well, under the Trump administration, actually, homelessness was going down by 12% a year, which we would love to see that, right? We would like to see there be no homeless veterans eventually. But then when you start reallocating all those VA HUD bash funds, which are set aside to house homeless veterans, and you start reallocating them to house migrants, well, now you have a 19% increase. It's very sad. 43,000 veterans are literally homeless on the street. But what people don't take into account is the real number is 1.3 million of them are at the brink of homelessness. And get this, included in the brink of homelessness, you live in a shelter. So you're not counted as being homeless. You live in your car, so you're not homeless. Sleeping in a garage, you're in the park. So until you're really sleeping on the street, you don't make up part of that 43,000. It's a much bigger problem than people want to recognize.
So is this administration then definitely prioritized illegal aliens over veterans?
I think that they have prioritized illegal immigrants for Democrat supremacy over veterans, over our whole country, really, over the lives of young men and women. I think that they are trying to redistrict the United States in their favor, and they will do it at all costs. And that's a very scary thing. A lot of people think, well, Kamala did a very piss poor job, if you will, being the border czar. I feel like I did a better job being the border czar, going down to lay the razor wire. But maybe they think she did a good job because that was their intention, was to get them in. So she may be getting accolades on her side. Who knows?
Well, let's talk about that. They're really downplaying in this race to the White House that her role as the border czar. She only came down there once, and it was a brief thing to do a speech. She looked around and she left. I've worked the border on and off for 20 years. Every time I go down there, I see something different and new, and something worse is happening. What do you think the real deal was? Why they labeled her border czar? Because it certainly wasn't to enable border security. Trump had the most secure border we've ever had, and it was gone within days and weeks when Biden came in. So, what do you think was the real plan for naming her border czar?
Well, I think that they actually gave her that role in the beginning. They gave it to her very early on. And when they turned the border over, from one administration to the next, it was fairly safe. They knew she was a fairly feckless leader, and I think they thought, "Oh, we'll make you the border czar. That will be what you do here in the administration." But then when they got the idea in their mind that they could utilize her fecklessness to their advantage, and then allowed 10 to 20 million people to cross the border, I think that they saw that as a big win. And her not going to the border doesn't really surprise me. She didn't do much else when she was in office other than to lie to the American people and to gaslight them. When I went down to the border one day, I think you might have seen it on the news, I actually was able to just walk right into Mexico, right back across, which is why I put the razor wire there. But what I found was passports from all over the world, from China, from Ethiopia, from Afghanistan, from Pakistan. A lot of these countries have ill will toward us, and we're just letting them march right across our border. I've been out at all times of the day. Sometimes, 100 people cross at that crossing. Sometimes in a day, 1,000 people cross. And there's not time to search them. There's not time to vet them. We do, in fact, put them on planes, trains, and automobiles and send them all over the country. So the rhetoric that they were spinning on the left-leaning media. It was just absolutely not true. And I wanted to show the American public, like, look, I'm actually standing here. I'm filming this for you. You don't have to wonder if the border is open or not. It is open.
Yeah, in the old days when we would be working on the border, you needed, and sometimes Border Patrol, you'd be chasing footprints coming over the border that came that night, and you're chasing the next morning, and you're trying to stop these groups before they get to either Highway 8 or in Texas and Arizona, Highway 10, because once they got there, they could get anywhere in the country. Now, under the Biden administration, they bring in the buses and the planes they're picking up, and the Biden administration is taking them all over the country. And when you see some of the places that they're targeting to drop off big populations of a foreign population in these small towns that are predominantly red, you have to take a look at it and say, hey, this is fundamentally changing the makeup of the United States of America. When you're going into these towns that have been conservative for 100 years and you're bringing in a tenth to sometimes 80, 90% of their population in Haitians or Venezuelans or Hondurans or Guatemalans, you're fundamentally transforming the United States of America using the border as the excuse. Am I right on that?
Oh, 1000%. I think, culturally, if you just look at a place like Springfield, Ohio, that only has a population of 60,000 people, and then you drop off 20,000 Haitians, there's a cultural dynamic there that just is not ever going to work. They're not all of a sudden just going to integrate. Their religious practices, their poverty level that they came from, their lack of ability to communicate puts them at enmity and at odds with all the people that live there. And whether or not they're eating animals is a totally non sequitur. That's only one little piece of a way in which they wouldn't fit into that community. But the Democrats do not care. They're looking for Democrat supremacy. They don't care how it affects the everyday American.
Hey, just you said you wanted to be a linguist before you went into Marine Corps intelligence. How many languages do you speak?
I don't speak a ton. I speak quite a lot of Spanish, a decent amount of Spanish. I speak a little Turkish because my husband's Turkish. But I think I just got so mad about not being able to be a linguist that I just never really picked it back up again. But I would love to be able to speak more languages. Maybe I should get on that. Thanks for the inspiration.
Well, you're talking to a guy that had 2 years of Spanish in high school, and then I worked kind of to get my Spanish okay. Then when I got down to Central America, the dialects there were so different. It's like it took me 3 days to realize it's a whole nother type of Spanish. So I'm horrible at languages. So when I see somebody that's good at it, I have a lot of respect for them. Folks, we've got a commercial coming up for 2 minutes. We'll be back with Kate Monroe afterwards. And I want to talk about homelessness. I want to talk about California. And we will see you on the other side of this break. God bless you.
It is critical that every American see this movie.
It was very enlightening and waking people up and letting them know exactly what was going on that day. We hear so many lies, over TV, and seeing this film has shown me a lot.
Has our church seen it? Has our pastor seen it? Because to me, every God-fearing person should see it.
It needs to be shown. It needs to be said. The whole United States needs to know the truth.
God gave his glory this land. He blessed us with this lake. This has been a place of grace where so many have come to feel his presence and connect with the Holy Spirit. I seek him every morning. It is our place of prayer. But here in East Texas, we just suffered through the worst storm in over 150 years. We lost the spillway, we lost the dam. We also lost fish and other wildlife that were carried into the woods to die. We almost lost this lake forever. But we are called by God to be good stewards of his land. With God's help and yours, we will rebuild this lake. We will restore these waters so that we may baptize here for generations to come. Will you help us? If you feel so called, by contributing, you not only help repair this cherished spot, but you'll also receive special recognition on the His Glory donor wall at the lake. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Welcome back, America. We're on with Kate Monroe. Hey, Kate, before we get into the homeless thing, what can people expect to read in your book, The Race to Save America?
Well, when I was running for Congress, I realized that running on solutions was probably a better plan than running on problems, which is what most people do. Oh, hey, there's a problem, problem, problem. So I said, what are the 10 to 12 really big issues we have as a country? And are there easy solutions to them? I interviewed people who are experts in every field that I covered: homeless, drugs.
This country
homelessness,
is falling
what's going
apart.
on in our schools.
Homelessness
And
is
I really
spiraling
think that
out of
this
control.
book is a guide or a solution provision provider. If you read this book, and it's an easy read, it's about an hour, you could go, we could implement all these strategies right now and turn back from the event horizon. So it's a solution. It's a fix for America.
Wow. Well, thank you for writing that. I noticed in your video presentation you had, you were going to a homeless encampment that was surrounded by vegetation. 20 years ago, there was a place down the border near San Diego, we called it the Reeds, where they would traffic children in there, and sometimes they dressed little girls up like doing their first communion, just horrible things. And we gotten that cleared out. Is that gone back to how it was 20 years ago now down there? What's happening in that part of San Diego?
Well, down in San Diego, there's a couple of different pockets of homelessness. When I first illuminated our homeless issue here in San Diego on the grand stage, I was just really focused on downtown San Diego, what they call the bottoms. And at that time, there was about 2,000 homeless people in about a 3-block radius. It looked like a third world country. It was very scary. I always have to take a body man with me who's armed because I've almost been beat up. I've had knives drawn on me. I've had drugs, people trying to deal drugs to me. And so that's that situation. But then if you move a little farther north, underneath the overpass SeaWorld, there's 20 tons of trash out on this little swampy island, kind of out in the swamp. And in order to get out there that day, one of the homeless people actually had to take us over in a makeshift canoe, believe it or not. Thank God my body man was with me, because this man was armed with 2 knives. And we go out and try to find veterans and rescue them essentially from homelessness. And then if you go farther to Oceanside, they call it the Thunderdome. And right underneath, the freeway there in Oceanside, there used to be a couple thousand people up there living in the reeds, living in the woods, essentially in a trash kingdom. It's just very sad.
Yeah, I used to surf not too far from there off John Basilone Road at Old Man's Beach, and it was so pristine. It was so awesome. And Southern California isn't like that anymore. I my early days in Hollywood, off of Melrose and Beverly Boulevard, we had these great rehearsal studios. It was just a cool rock and roll culture. Now I go back there, and you can't even pass the sidewalks because of the human feces and the tents. And I've had buddies on LAPD that they were picking up MRSA, like career-ending infections from clearing homeless encampments. I mean, it's how can that be happening in America, Kate? How can that be happening?
Well, it's not that it's happening, right? It's not happening. It's engineered. It's purposeful. It's because the homeless industrial complex makes so much money off of building all this, transitionary housing. They make a ton of money. It's an industry now, right? The second it became a for-profit thing, you're never going to find less homelessness. You're going to find more homelessness. You have to keep people homeless in order to churn the homeless industrial complex. That's how it works. I mean, here in San Diego, I've walked the homeless encampments. I've walked Skid Row. I've been in the Tenderloin, walked the Tenderloin. I've walked as far as Portland. And I will tell you, it gets more violent the farther north that you go, because the drugs get out of control the farther that you climb, all the way up to Portland. So it's not happening. It's not happening to us. We're complicit in how it happens because we keep voting the same people in who force homelessness on us. They made it legal here in California essentially to commit crimes, like Prop 47. So now you can commit crimes. You can sleep on the streets. You can defecate on the streets. You can sell drugs on the streets. And there's no one to stop it. I mean, imagine being a business owner in San Diego. So many businesses are boarded up because you got people sleeping on their doorstep, peeing right on their front door, and people just can't deal with that. It's untenable.
It used to be, as we were kids, we'd go down to Tijuana, we'd surf, we'd have a fun time, but you couldn't wait to get back into America because the homelessness was so bad there, and it was just so sad, and the poverty. But now you cross that line, you get back into America, and you go to San Diego, you go to LA, and it just looks third world. And I you have the ex-senator from the state of California now running for president. You have Gavin Newsom wanting to be in national politics. I escaped California. I mean, thank God I got down to Texas, and I don't want the rest of the country to be like California. I saw them wreck that state in the almost 40 years I was there. It's how do we stop that from being how do we stop California and these policies from going out across the rest of the country?
Well, one of the easiest ways, actually, if two bodies of people would show up to the polls, we could sweep the election. It would be a massive red tide. It's veterans and active duty military personnel and Christians. For whatever reason, those two bodies of people have a low propensity to vote. In the swing states, if just the millions of registered Christian voters would have voted, it would have been an annihilation. But more than 5 million of them didn't vote. I mean, are you hoping that God just does all the work for you? He says, we are the body of Christ. We need to get out there and do the bare minimum, which is to vote. And then you look at active duty military personnel, it is harder for them to vote, as you know. But for veterans, a lot of them are so saddened and disappointed by their country and what happened to them after they served and during service that they just kind of did a massive walk-off. And I would speak to veterans right now. If you want to go back to having better care and easier VA to deal with, and someone who's actively going to put into your lives and ensure that you are safe and whole and prosperous, there's only one choice, because this administration, Kamala Harris, has already proved that she will prioritize illegal migrants over you. Trump loves veterans. He loves the military enough to ensure we're not at war. You have to go out and vote.
Yeah, you know, Pastor Rob McCoy, I believe this is a couple of years ago, but he told me that in California alone, there was about 12 million Christians that they knew of that just don't vote. That they think, you know, for whatever reasons, whether they think God's going to come down and take care of it, but they just don't vote. And to disengage the church from the government, I mean, that's a propaganda over the years that's happened. Oh, you know, separation of church and state. No, our state was developed by godly men. It was they prayed during the writing. You know, our founding fathers prayed while they were writing these documents. When they were deadlocked, they all went to the Lord in prayer and fasted for 3 days, and that's been turned out. And now you have so much of the American church believes that they should stay away from politics, and you know, whether it's because they don't want to lose their 501c3 status and get paid taxes or whatever. I don't know what it is, but if we don't re-engage Christians into the body politic, we're not the same United States that we started. Jesus was quite clear when he said that upon this rock, upon this ecclesia, I will build my church. That was the town square back in his day where they would sit out and talk and preach. He was dead set in the middle of it. Do you see this happening? Do you see it happening in the next 50 days before this election? Do you see it happening in our future? How do we re-engage?
Well, you know, there's a lot of ways that we could re-engage. You know, I have said lately, we need to start a massive prayer chain to change the hearts and minds of those who need to go and vote, and also to provide President Trump protection. But really, it comes down to every Christian likely goes to a church at least maybe even once a month. You know, 10 to 20 other Christians. You could at least tell those 10 or 20 people, guys, we got to get out and vote. You can't just say, we want to protect the life of the unborn, but then do nothing to protect it other than to post on social media about it. You know, I would challenge you that that's not enough. You need to go vote for people who will actually do that work of protecting the unborn. You don't want drag queens reading to your children at school. Well, it's not enough to post on social media a cute video about it. You need to go and vote, because God likes men and women of action. He loves men and women of action. And he's sitting there looking at you like, why don't you get out of the pew over to the poll? Could you do just that distance? Is that really that difficult? And go vote in some godly people who will actually stand up for our morals, our values, and our principles. So I would say to all of you watching, all of you Christians, all you veterans, all you active duty, this is your hour. You are part of the solution. This is not just democracy. This is the Republic of the United States of America, of which you are a part. Unless, of course, you're an illegal alien. You need to go vote. No more standing idly by. We will go quietly into the night if you don't get off the pew into the polls. Let's get it done.
I often think that, God gives us the shovels, and too many of us are sitting around waiting for him to dig the hole. He's given us the tools to go do the mission. And as we see them bringing in between, 10 and 20 illegal aliens in the last 3.5 years, it's not just about replacing American workers with cheaper labor, but it's also about replacing voters. I mean, they're bringing folks in and they're telling them, oh, you're in the country legally now, you can go vote. And there are actually groups up there signing illegal aliens up to vote. That to me, that's treason.
It is treason, especially if you served in the military and you're watching this happen and you're standing idly by. What are you doing? We cannot allow this because, and statistics prove it, most people, when they come to our country legally or illegally, they bring their ideology with them at least one cycle. And most of them come from a place where they would naturally vote for the Democrats. So you would see a huge blue wave if we allow this to happen. So what is the response? There's only 10 or 20 million of them. There's millions and millions and millions of Christians. We have to stand up and do our job.
We absolutely do. God has called us for a time such as this, and I don't believe this election is just another election. I think this is for all the marbles. Whether we're going to continue as the United States of America, born in freedom, born out of liberty, or whether we just become another oppressive communist state. Kate, thank you so much for being with us today. God bless you, what you're doing in California. I hope you can heal it. Keep working. We'll hope to have you back. Folks, we'll see you next time on The War and Truth Continues. God bless you.
Thanks, guys.